All right, I have a question. We talked to Jason Timpf about this, and his feeling was that so much of what happened with the Pistons was he disagreed with the Twitter narrative that the Pistons were like a roster full of spare parts that someone like shook out and then dumped on an NBA court, and he feels like Monty Williams deserves a lot of the blame for misusing guys, for sort of mystifying lineups. For I saw you were retweeting some of the stuff about why is Jaden Ivey playing 4 minutes a game and you're playing some of the worst people in basketball 30 plus minutes a game. So how much of it do you think is on Monty, or I guess like how much of it with a different approach could have been avoided, or do you think it's just kind of the roster construction?
At the end of last season, Troy Weaver wrote a letter to the fan base saying that we will be better. I understand these are tough times. This is year 3 of the rebuild. And you know what he did in the free agent offseason? He signed Joe Harris and Monty Morris. I'm just going to let that simmer for y'all. For those of you playing at home, Joe Harris is not in the rotation, and Monty Morris has not touched the floor this year. All right? So Troy Weaver was like promising that it's going to be all right, whatever. I promise we're going to, okay. During the whole losing streak, I haven't heard a word from Troy Weaver. And Tom Gore's talking to the media was a big deal. But even then, his words were like, say what you say, like, we're doing everything outside of winning. We're giving back to the community. And I'm like, Tom, this ain't the time, buddy.
Fuck the community. We want some W's.
he went the motherfucking the Russell Westbrook with his pictures of his family. This is the guy you hate route, right?
I didn't notice that until like people started pointing that out. I had no idea. People were like, yeah, look at this dude, look at this nice, how can you say something bad about this athlete with his family? I'm like,
right.
But to the Monty point, I think that Monty has been dealt a bad hand with this roster construction. However, when you're dealt a bad hand, sometimes you can also just not play that hand as best as you can. And whenever guess how many different starting lineups the Pistons have had. Just guess.
It's been what, 35 games? Just about
35 games. Guess how many?
16.
18.
Sheesh.
Yeah, that's a good guess. The Pistons have started 18 different starting lineups in like 35 games. And some of it is due to the fact that the Pistons have had a lot of injuries this year, whether it's Bogey, Duren, Stewart, Hayes. I get that. But then there are some starting lineups that you see that you're like, what is happening? Like when Isaiah Livers started against the Jazz, all of the replies underwards were like, what are we doing? Why? There's no reason for this, you know? But that's the thing. It's like sometimes you see a coaching decision and it's like, I think that Monty is trying his best. However, I think that he's also tinkering too much because a lot of players, like some players will play like 30 minutes one night and then like 11 the next. And some of these changes don't feel performance based, especially when it comes to like Asar and Livers and Ivy. Like they don't feel performance based at sometimes. So it just makes it Wiseman and Bagley, like the play, which one of those two gets to play, it just feels like he flips a coin some days.
How do you feel about Monty for the job? Like I think Monty's a good coach, but it's hard being a coach. Some people are good at coaching good teams.
Yes,
you know what I mean.
Exactly.
And some people are. I mean, he seems like he's trying, but it's like you have to accept maybe that this is not going to be a good squad. And get the best you can out of the best players you have. And I don't think he's accepted that. But do you think Monty's the guy for the job, or there might be somebody else out there?
This roster is built so poorly, in my opinion, that it's hard for me to be like, yeah, Mike D'Antoni will fix this. Like it's hard for me to like point to a dude and be like, they're gonna do, like, I feel like anyone that was like handed this collection of players would struggle. So there's parts of me that understand why Monty Williams has been experimenting for half a season. But there's also some things where I feel like the Pistons will do something good one game and then Monty Williams will not revisit it. And there's where we're like, oh, the game that we won to break the streak, Kevin Knox started at the 4. And then I think a game or two after that, he's out of the starting lineup. And this is like all with Isaiah Stewart being hurt and all of that. So it's just really puzzling sometimes, and it's also puzzling when you add on like the press conference quotes at the end where he's like, oh, yeah, I didn't really like. He'll add it, and we'll be like, okay, I don't know what's going on here. I don't know what this man is cooking. So
I don't think he knows what's going on. 16
Well,
starting
he
lineups is
literally
crazy.
said after the last game,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't even think about it. Didn't he say that? Like, he was like, I didn't even think about it. I just did this. Like,
yeah, he's just trying to like switch stuff up, and I know the season is lost already. Like, we don't have to say anything about that, but like, I don't know, man. It's just seeing like all this like everything's in flux, and we're still like bad, so it doesn't feel like. It just feels like we're just treading water. You know?
Yeah. I'm going on John's point about how Monty just might be a good coach when he's got a good team. Like I've always had a theory that there's basically two types of NBA coaches, right? You're either a maximizer of talent or you're a developer of talent, right? It's why you often see when you have a team on the come up, on the brink of winning a championship, the guy who built that team usually gets the boot because he's hit his ceiling, right? Like we saw that in Golden State, right? We saw that in Golden State with Mark Jackson, Steve Kerr. We saw that in Chicago with Doug Collins and Phil Jackson. You know, we saw that again in with the Lakers when Phil Jackson got that job again, right? And building on the Steve Kerr shit, we see how he's struggling with developing the younger talent that they have there now, right? Guys are usually like developers or maximizers, in my opinion, which is why I think Pop is like the best coach of all time, because I think we've seen him develop and maximize talent. But yeah, I think that even if they don't think Monty is the guy for the job, he's the highest paid coach in the league. Like you know what I'm saying? Like, are you really gonna, cut weight with him and just have that contract eating up your cap for years to come? Because I'm a firm believer that fired coach is the best job in the world. You know what I'm saying? Like fired coach with years left on your contract, that is the best fucking job you could have.
Sign me the fuck up, man.
Right.
Yeah.
Easily. But yeah, like I said, I don't know how much we can blame Monty here because, he doesn't have a lot to work with, but we can for sure criticize how he's, working with the shit that he has. You feel me?
Yeah, exactly. I think it flips like every 5 minutes, honestly, where you like look at the bench operate and be like, oh, this is the worst bench in the league. But then you also look at the coin and you're like, Alex Burks played 32 minutes this game. And it's like, you'll look at it and it'll be like some part frustrating, but some part like I understand that he's trying everything and like I get it.
College football fans, the championship is here, and DraftKings Sportsbook is making sure you can throw down on the epic showdown for a shot at big bucks. New customers can score $150 instantly in bonus bets for betting $5 on the championship game.
No SEC schools in the championship is wild, but it should be a fun one. On DraftKings right now, Michigan is a 4.5-point favorite, and the over-under is set at 55.5.
Download the app now and use code Jenkins, Jenkins. New customers can score $150 instantly in bonus bets for betting just $5 on college football. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code Jenkins. The crown is yours.